Hey, everybody. I'm Sean Fargo with Mindfulness Exercises. Just thought I'd hop on a quick live stream here on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook to share some thoughts about teaching mindfulness um, and about curriculum that you can use to teach from. So, a little bit about myself. I'm the founder of mindfulnessexercises.com, where we share over 2,000 free mindfulness meditations, worksheets, guided meditation scripts. We have about 10 or 11 free courses on mindfulness, meditation. Um, we train people on how to teach mindfulness in professional settings, whether it's in healthcare, business, education, coaching, etc. Hi, Deb. Nice to see you there on Facebook. So we train a lot of people on how to teach mindfulness in professional settings. We certify people to teach mindfulness, but we also recently created a curriculum for people to teach from, to teach mindfulness online, to teach mindfulness in business, in education. A lot of people are looking for alternative sources of income. A lot of people are looking to make a bigger difference in the world, to help others with their mindfulness practice because we've found it so impactful and enriching for our own lives that we just naturally want to share it with others. So we created a curriculum for people to download and modify and even put your logo or name on it and teach from it and monetize your own teachings if you wish. But when I first started trying to teach mindfulness, I realized pretty quickly that um, I needed some curriculum to teach from. It wasn't enough just to talk about hanging out with the breath or to just keep noticing your experience without judging it. We needed some principles to talk about, some ways to introduce mindfulness, some ways to relate the practices to everyday life, um, some ways to encourage people to uh, reflect on which practices will make sense for them to try. There's a lot of components to a mindfulness curriculum that can really make it that much more effective for people. And how to talk about heart-centered practices versus somatic practice, how to talk about trauma sensitivity, how to talk about the differences between mindfulness and meditation, how to talk about loving kindness and compassion. What does gratitude relate? How does gratitude relate to mindfulness? There's so many different components to teaching mindfulness that um, can be tricky. And so we thought, we would create a curriculum for people to teach from so that it gives them the building blocks and an outline and slides and word for word teachings that people can use to help others. When I first started teaching mindfulness, um, there were no there was no such thing as a curriculum that I could just use and modify to help people from. Um, I did a program. I won't say the name of it, but I had to pay $10,000 to take a training program and to teach their mindfulness curriculum. And I had to pay $500 every year to be able to teach it, plus I think 20% of any revenue I made from teaching the curriculum. And it was a branded curriculum from the organization that I was not able to change. I was not able to modify the curriculum. I wasn't really able to insert my own stories or experiences very much. It was a very cookie cutter program. And I thought, I'd like to create a curriculum that people could modify, that they can insert their own stories if they want to, they could brand. It's just all about helping people. It's not about making money per se. It's about helping people. And so I worked with a team to create what I feel is a very strong mindfulness teaching curriculum. It's evidence based. Everything is evidence based, which is really important if we're sharing mindfulness in the secular world that we find ourselves in with business settings. And we want to make sure that we're teaching something that works. So might as well just stick with the evidence-based practices, evidence-based teachings, and have that cornerstone all set for our mindfulness teachings. So we took a lot of the hard work on ourselves, and we created a bunch of slides and teacher guidebooks and student handbooks and um, trainings on how to teach each lesson. And so we're very happy with the result of the curriculum, and it's already being taught in Fortune 500 companies and school districts. Even governmental agencies like the EPA are using this curriculum. But it takes years to create something like this. And so we're just offering it for people to download. It's been shown to be very effective. I've used the curriculum for teaching all sorts of populations for stress reduction, anxiety, depression, addiction, as well as people who just want to be more embodied, more heartfelt. But it's super easy to teach from. You can modify it to however you want. But the lessons that we include in the curriculum, I think, are cornerstones for any good mindfulness teaching curriculum. We talk about introducing mindfulness, how to debunk the myths around mindfulness and meditation, how to be able to define it in a way that's very accessible to just about anybody, how to open to skepticism and disarm skepticism. We talk about mindfulness of the body, so being able to sense into physical sensations, being able to distinguish between physical sensations and mental thoughts about the experience, how to sense into what's pleasant or unpleasant without necessarily judging it to be good or bad, right or wrong, how to be able to sense into the body as we're moving. So, sensing into the bottoms of our feet as we walk, sensing into food as we're eating, sensing into sounds of the ears, sights in the eyes, smells. So, really unpacking what it means to be mindful of the body. We talk a lot about mindfulness of emotions. So, bringing this non judgmental, moment to moment awareness of um, anger, sadness, fear, um, calm, um, contentment, care. How to bring mindfulness to the emotional flavor of it, how the emotions feel in the body, how to savor the pleasant and wholesome emotions, and then also how to be present for the unpleasant emotions without judging them, without repressing them, without trying to get rid of them or fix them, but to actually be mindful of how it actually feels in that moment. Remembering that it's okay to feel what we feel and that it's important to feel what we feel. We also cover, how to be with what's difficult, whatever that kind of experience is for you. So many of us would maybe watch less TV, drink less alcohol, eat less food, react. We would do all those things less if we were able to be with what's difficult. And a big part of sharing mindfulness with others is encouraging courage to simply be with what's here, even if it's difficult. Now, with trauma, we want to be sensitive to trauma. We don't want to ask people to um, be with something that's too difficult, too overwhelming, but we do want to work within people's window of tolerance. We want to be able to grow and to be with what's difficult, but without it being too overwhelming. And so there's some trainings on that. There's also trainings on loving kindness and compassion. These heart qualities of connecting with people, connecting with ourselves, uh, with empathy, with care, wishing them well. And so there's all sorts of meditations and trainings on how to cultivate an open heart, a caring heart, but also a heart that can establish boundaries. Um, because compassion is not complete if we don't include ourselves. So we do need to have boundaries for ourselves to make sure that we take care of ourselves because we're worthy of being taken care of. This worthiness is such an important um, feeling to talk about when we talk about mindfulness, because mindfulness and self-compassion are often the same thing. And a lot of us don't practice mindfulness or self-compassion because we feel like we might not be worthy. So, how to talk about worthiness, how to talk about self-care. This is really, really important to be able to share with others. And so, this curriculum gives you the tools on how to talk about self-compassion, how to practice mindfulness on a regular basis so that we continue to take care of ourselves day in and day out. We also have some brandable mindfulness curriculum that you can use for teaching mindful communication and mindful leadership. Um, mindful communication is something I think we can all use more of from time to time because when we react out of stress and fear, then it can be really difficult to find the right words that convey respect and care, but also those kinds of boundaries that we need. How to say what we mean, how to know what we mean, how to express our emotions in a way that's authentic, but also in a way that's respectful. So we have lots of trainings around mindful communication, mindful leadership, and we also have a full session for you to teach from on resilience, how mindfulness and resilience relate to each other, how to be resilient physically, mentally, emotionally, how to align with our spirit when times are tough, whatever spirit means for each of us. Um, how to be able to tend to the past and learn from the past while also having a vision for the future that's meaningful, that's exciting, that's wholesome, but also while tending to the present each step of the way. So there's this full training on resilience, on how mindfulness training increases resilience, something that I think we could all use given the pandemic and climate change and political elections and wars. So um, we could all use more resilience. And so this training on resilience is baked into the mindfulness teaching curriculum that we're offering. We also have a session on anxiety, mindfulness for anxiety. Anxiety is the number one thing that people need help with in terms of mindfulness training. It's usually anxiety is number one and sleep is number two. So we have a full 90-minute session for you to use that you can train people on mindfulness for reducing anxiety. You know, a lot of us suffer from anxiety and worry, rumination, and a lot of us will judge ourselves for it, or judge the anxiety, or judge a situation. Um, Sometimes our sympathetic nervous system is just caught up in this loop of worry, and it's really hard to calm the nervous system, to know how to sense into anxiety without judging it, to know how to breathe with it, to soften our judgments, and to be able to bring mindful equanimity to it, a sense of loving kindness, so that we no longer identify ourselves as being anxious, so that we're no longer thinking, I am anxious, but rather there is some anxiety present. Yeah. And it will change. There's different practices and meditations for reducing anxiety, different ways of framing it that have been shown to be really helpful for most people. We also have a full session for you to use on mindfulness for work and career performance. A lot of people struggle at work with either interpersonal conflicts, overwhelm with the amount of work that's on our plate. Maybe we're not passionate about what we're doing. Maybe we're just tired and overworked. Whatever that is for people, mindfulness can help. It can help us to be able to find the energy and the clarity of mind to make some smart decisions around how to proceed. Maybe we need a change of pace. Maybe we need to be more mindful day to day so that we can have more bandwidth for our team members, lower stress. There's trainings on mindfulness for work and career so that we can align our full embodied self at work, so that we're not pretending to be one way, we're not faking our language. We can show up fully as we are with the strength and confidence of our true self, and that will give us the motivation to be able to go after what we want. And hopefully that's something that's truly beneficial for yourself and for others. We also have a session on moving forward mindfully. So knowing where you're headed, what your goals are, what are you passionate about? What's meaningful to you in life? And one practice I always like sharing is mindfulness of death. Not to be dark or macabre, but to reflect. Okay, well, if life is uncertain, each breath might be my last, and if I really accept that and really know that that's true for all of us, then it can be helpful for distilling what's most important to us. What do we want to do with our lives so that we're cultivating, whether it's patience or trust, love, concentration, honesty. What virtues do we want to cultivate? What kind of heartfelt qualities do we want to feel? What do we want to say to others? How do we want to treat others? How do we want to treat ourselves? So how do we move forward in a mindful way so that we have a sense of our direction, but we're also present for each step of the way, with this embodied presence, aligning our bodies, our emotions, our intellect, and our spirit. And so that's the basic outline of the curriculum that we offer for teaching mindfulness to adults. But we also have a curriculum for teaching teenagers with different sets of practices, different sets of meditations that are meant for teenagers. So I have a 3-year-old daughter. I don't have a teenager yet, but I think that when she turns 12 or 13, I'll be looking for these practices to teach her as she navigates middle school and high school. But I know a lot of people are looking for ways that they can share mindfulness with their teenager. Um, you know, being a teenager is tough. At least it was for me. and um, and I really wish that I had learned mindfulness as a teenager because my high school years were not exactly that happy. Um, and I really wish that I had gotten out of my head and worried less and and practice more mindfulness trainings. But mindfulness trainings for adults don't exactly resonate with teens all that much. They don't want to be told what to do. A lot of teens might find that mindfulness might be boring, or they might not be able to relate to the adult challenges um, of life. So we created a curriculum for teaching teens with different sets of slides, different sets of meditations and handbooks and guidebooks for knowing how to connect with teens, knowing how to introduce mindfulness to teenagers, how to relate mindfulness to their situations, to their common challenges, to their common goals, to meet them where they're at. Because it's really important to make mindfulness relevant to people. Like I said earlier, I don't believe in cookie cutter trainings. I don't believe in one size fits all approaches. We need to be able to meet people where we're at. And usually that means um, really empathizing with their situation, asking them questions, finding out what's challenging for them, knowing what they're wanting, knowing what their goals are. What have they tried before? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What do they want help with? How do they think mindfulness might be relevant to them? Or which kinds of practices do they think they might want to try? Because it's not about convincing anyone of anything, it's not about proving anything, it's not about fixing anyone, it's not about preaching anything. It's about sharing some tools and some practices with others with care and compassion and seeing what makes sense for them, allowing them to try mindfulness for themselves to see what works for them and what doesn't. We're planting seeds. And, even if we think that we're not reaching people with our mindfulness teachings, we may just be planting seeds. And sometimes those seeds will grow in 5 minutes. Sometimes they'll grow the next day. Sometimes it might take years for those seeds to grow. But we can share the teachings of mindfulness so that we'll see um, how each person does with it, because everyone's different. But we want to make sure that the mindfulness teachings are relevant to people. So we created this curriculum for teenagers um, around mindfulness at school. So how to be mindful during test taking, how to be mindful around screens and technology, how to be mindful when we're feeling distracted, which happens to adults too, if you haven't noticed. And so there's guided practices around mindful test prep, mindful test taking, We have a game on the distraction game, the sounds of technology. So we have all sorts of mindfulness practices for teens to meet them where they're at. They take tests, they're trying to navigate the world with technology and distraction. But we also offer these teacher deep dives for you to learn how to um, engage teens, how to reach them, and to relate mindfulness to their common situations. And so we give these teacher deep dives on how you can handle classroom dynamics, how you can handle transitions from topics, what kinds of expectations you can offer them, how you can kind of give up on total control over teaching teens, because if you want to control every moment with a teenager, then good luck, because you're probably going to be facing the unexpected at any given time. But we also offer student workbooks for the teens on belly breathing, breath awareness, grounding, and journaling. We offer sessions for you to teach from around mindfulness for resilience for teens, on how to deal with overwhelm, impulsivity, reactivity, setbacks. What's the difference between response and reaction? We give you these practices to teach around self-forgiveness. I know a lot of teens who struggle with shame and guilt around either not doing something or doing quote unquote the wrong thing. And so we have these practices around self-forgiveness. We offer the RAIN technique of recognizing the experience, the unpleasant experience, having some acceptance and allowance and acknowledgement around it, investigating it, and then providing a sense of nourishment or nurturing. We offered trainings for teens on mindfulness for relationships, how to bring mindfulness to their friend life, how to bring mindfulness to their family life, how to build relationships that are wholesome. And so some practices that we have with that are around mindful listening, speaking with authenticity, speaking with respect, knowing or acknowledging what kinds of masks we wear, what kind of hats we wear in different situations, and how we can apply mindfulness to each situation so that we're not feeling too fragmented or compartmentalized. We can be ourselves in any kind of experience. So we are offering this curriculum for you to download, to modify using your own voice if you want. You're using your own stories, and you can brand it with your own name or logo on it and teach from it. And then you can modify or monetize your teachings if you wish. But we're providing a big package of slides, student handbooks, teaching guidebooks, a lot of resources for you to be able to teach mindfulness with. And it's something that I wish I had 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because it's really hard to know what to teach and how to teach it if you haven't done it before. And even if you have done it before, it's still hard. But if you have the tools and the resources in front of you to know what's next, to know how to prepare for it, it makes the experience of sharing mindfulness with others that much more easy and effective. So Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you. I know a lot of people are looking for ways to help their neighbors, their colleagues, their families. A lot of people are looking for ways to supplement their income. And so a lot of people use this curriculum to create courses with, or create programs with, or consult businesses, or consult um, uh, their patients with. So yeah, so I just wanted to kind of dive in a little bit about what this curriculum is all about. Of course, you know, the intention of sharing this to help people is the main thing, is sense of compassion. When we empathize with the struggles and the challenges that people have, um, we just naturally want to help them. And this is what that's all about, is helping people by sharing some mindfulness principles and practices with them. And that can make all the difference. And if we speak with a sense of care, if we speak from a sense of experience, because a lot of us have been practicing mindfulness for some time. If we speak from this place of embodied presence, where we're really like feeling our feet on the ground, sensing into our bellies rise and fall as we breathe, sensing into our hearts as we're connecting with the people who we're helping, um, then people feel that. And the way that we talk about mindfulness, and the way that we carry ourselves, and the way that we meet people's experience without judgment, can speak volumes, and can sometimes be even more effective than the actual trainings that we're providing. So it's the words we speak, but it's also how we speak them, how we are as people. Are we being an example of a mindful person? So to me, the teachers who I look up to are the ones who have a dedicated mindfulness practice, who've been practicing for years. And you can really sense that presence. And so, regardless of whether we share mindfulness with others, regardless of whether we use this curriculum or not, um, the most important thing is that we continue practicing, that we have this level of sincerity around sensing into our moment to moment experience, with a sense of caring curiosity or gentle awareness. We're not trying to fix ourselves. We're not trying to be someone who we're not. We're not trying to get to another place in life, but we're just sensing into this very experience with openness and care. And we're not focusing on any outcomes, we're focusing on the process. We are tending to this moment and this moment and this moment, without focusing on what outcomes we want. Because if we bypass the process, then it doesn't matter the outcome that we want, we probably won't get it. So there's a paradox to this. It can be very, very tricky. Um, but yeah, so I wish you um, courage in meeting your own experience without judgment. If you're interested in sharing mindfulness with others and teaching mindfulness, then I wish you well with that. Let me know if there's anything I can do to support you. Um, Several people have been commenting here on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Hi, Leslie. Nice to see you. Hi, Abby on LinkedIn. Lisa on Facebook. Dr. Paula Lambert on LinkedIn in Philadelphia. Patricia on LinkedIn. Marie on LinkedIn said teenagers are a demographic who need intensive support in this area. I definitely agree. Tracy, you said mindfulness should be a core subject in secondary school, helping the adolescents learn more about themselves. Well said. I totally agree. Marie, you also said I've worked a lot with teenage boys, and often they see practicing mindfulness as relinquishing their masculinity in order to step into their emotions. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was afraid of practicing mindfulness because I thought it might be maybe too soft or too weak, maybe a little feminine, because a lot of women are just really good at tending to their emotions. And uh, yeah, and so there can be a stigma around mindfulness that's not um, not well deserved, not correct. Like being a man, as you know, includes feeling all of our emotions. Men are human, men have emotions, and to be able to tend to our emotions in real time takes much more strength than repressing them. So yeah, so I'm glad that you work with teenage boys and you recognize that stigma, and can be that much more prepared to support them. Deb on Facebook, you said, thanks for this overview. My family so needs this. Yeah, thank you, Deb. Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, so I'm here. If you have any questions or comments whatsoever, feel free to share anything you may want to share around teaching mindfulness. If you have any questions around the curriculum, we just want to be able to support people to share these teachings. Marie, you said the word they unfortunately use is gay. Still lots of work to be done in this arena. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's an unfortunate word, and also an unfortunate view. And one thing that I found helpful is to share examples of some of the more masculine men in our culture who practice mindfulness, to show them that it's not anything to be looked down on. It's nothing to be scared of. People like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, business leaders and CEOs from around the world, leaders of Google and Apple and top corporations practice this. The military, um, you know, maybe millions of our armed forces are practicing mindfulness each day. Um, uh, Musicians, actors, so Googling the celebrities and the notable figures in our world who are these sort of masculine men, um, who are practicing mindfulness and sharing these examples, like, so and so practices mindfulness and this is their experience, and they're still masculine, so sharing these examples can be really helpful for removing the stigma around mindfulness and masculinity. There's a guy named Lewis Howes who wrote a book on this, on his masculinity and how mindfulness practice has supported his sense of self and how he carries himself in the world. So I recommend that, from Lewis Howes. Yeah, Leslie said, can you share the best link for viewing the program, resources, and pricing? Yeah, I'll just post it right here. So it's mindfulnessexercises.com/brandable curriculum. But it gives an overview as to all the sessions of mindfulness teachings that you get, examples of the different kinds of slides that you get, the teacher handbook and the student guidebook, and the teacher deep dives. And if you have any other questions about the curriculum, either for adults or for kids, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll put my email address here too, in case anyone wants to reach me privately via email. Great, Marie. It sounds like that's what you already do. Cool. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, and thank you for helping the teenage boys and teenagers, and for all of you who are helping others in some way. Thank you. Our society needs a lot of help right now. And when I say society, I mean every society. We need a lot of help. So, so thank you, everyone, for doing what you're doing in the world. Any other questions around teaching mindfulness, around curriculum, around meditation, anything at all? All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. I'll post a recording of this on our YouTube page later tonight or tomorrow. But hope that some of this was a little useful for you. Luana on YouTube is saying, I am nervous about teaching mindfulness. I get jitters just thinking about it, and I missed the answer to my question. Yeah, a lot of people are in the same boat. We also offer a training program on how to teach mindfulness in general, and how to certify to teach mindfulness. And that's at teach.mindfulnessexercises.com in case anyone's interested. But yeah, when I started teaching mindfulness, I was a nervous wreck. I was scared of being judged. And I was kind of judging myself too, like, who am I to teach mindfulness? I'm not Jack Kornfield or Sharon Salzberg or Pema Chodron. Who am I to teach mindfulness? I didn't feel worthy. Why would anyone want to listen to me? And so, it takes practice talking about mindfulness. It takes training to know how to handle different situations and how to introduce different practices. I think it takes a lot of personalized support, working with the teacher on knowing, okay, well, what are my strengths? Where are my challenges? How can I improve in these different areas? Or how can I relate to the people I want to teach mindfulness to? And so we offer that in the certification program, like how to, I work with everyone in that program on how to improve our mindfulness teaching capabilities. How to charge money for this if I want to earn some sort of income from this. How to answer really difficult questions, how to work with trauma. Are my guided meditations okay? Will people like my voice? Am I saying the right things? So the certification program goes into detail on all of that, and a lot more too. But yeah, it takes practice. I recommend recording yourself, recording video or audio of yourself teaching, and then forcing yourself to listen to it or watch it. And, diffusing the self-judgment, diffusing the fear, by bringing mindfulness to the judgments, bringing mindfulness to the fear, opening to what's uncomfortable and tending to it with this gentle awareness. Um, so, so there's different ways that we can work with our nervousness. Um, there's ways of introducing mindfulness that's very disarming and that's very relaxed. That's not about me, the teacher, or what I think, but rather um, ways that are reflective and experiential for your students. Um, so, um, so there's different techniques and strategies for overcoming that nervousness. And that said, even if you are nervous, it's not the end of the world. Um, a lot of people are nervous doing public speaking or teaching, and it does take practice. You said the voice hits home. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When I've heard the recordings of myself, for the first year, I would cringe and press stop. No, thank you. I don't want to listen to myself. But over time, I became more and more comfortable with it. And also, it's good to listen to feedback. Um, to solicit comments and feedback and critique. How are my teachings? Uh, what did you resonate with? What did you think could be improved? Um, you know, what were your favorite parts of the teachings or the meditations? Um, what would you change? And so getting that feedback that's hopefully very constructive can support us to know how we can improve. But when I first started recording my meditations and sharing mindfulness with others, I was kind of trying to sound like someone else. I really wasn't owning my own voice. I wasn't exactly authentic. I sometimes I tried to sound wise. I wanted to try to sound perfect. Um, I was also very monotone. I still am monotone to some degree, but now there's more of a natural fluctuation in my voice. And now I feel much more comfortable employing humor and off the cuff thoughts and um, just being myself, and saying what comes to mind. Um, So that's par for the course. Everyone gets nervous. No one knows what they're doing in the beginning, but that's where practice comes in. That's where training comes in. That's where curriculum comes in to be able to support our journey in um, sharing mindfulness. So, but thank you for the question, Luana. I appreciate that. Thank you, Marie. Appreciate your comment. Thank you, Luana. Thank you, Marie. Yeah, some people say I have calm voice. Some people say I put them to sleep. Lately, I think my energy is rising a little bit, so hopefully not as many people fall asleep. Um, but yeah, I think it's helpful before we teach mindfulness to practice mindfulness so that um, we teach from a more grounded, caring, and connected place. So hopefully that's what's shining through today in my voice. But yeah, so thank you everyone for your time. It's been a pleasure um, uh, speaking with you and reading your comments. Feel free to reach out anytime. You can email me at sean@mindfulnessexercises.com or find me at mindfulnessexercises.com. But I wish you well, and good luck with your mindfulness practice. Take good care, everybody. Bye-bye.